time to run all of this by one of the best legal minds in the business. Joe Tacopina is a criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, friend of the show. Okay, Joe, I could not get over the fact that the feds are negotiating with Diddy's lawyers on a surrender in Manhattan. He comes to Manhattan, he gets his hotel room, and he stocks the dang hotel room with lube and baby oil and drugs and wads of cash. What the hell was he thinking?
Clearly, he wasn't thinking. But, Ashley, all of that's really nice. That doesn't do anything to advance the charges in this case. I mean, you're right. It's like, what are you thinking? I thought maybe he was thinking he was going to be able to work out a surrender. As a matter of fact, I know, in fact, he thought he was going to be able to work out a walk-in surrender at the FBI office. And, I guess so his hotel room was going to be his hotel room to do whatever he likes to do in it. And so maybe he had all his paraphernalia and equipment ready to go. I think that's what he was thinking. It didn't work out that way. But again, at the end of the day, great. They have these pictures that make him look even more, off than, we already knew he was, he does his own thing, clearly. Does that make him guilty of racketeering? Does that make him guilty of sex trafficking? Does that advance the ball on the Mann Act? It does not. It does not. And so there's been a lot of evidence in this case, really horrible evidence about him as a batterer, as not a nice human being. And that's great. But you know what? I think the government is still reeling from Tenny Garagos's opening statement. I think she did a great opening statement because I think what she did was I think the government really thought that they were going to run away from him being a batterer. And they embraced him being a batterer. And when I say embraced, I didn't mean it endorsed it, but accepted it. Look, they said this is a case that you're going to see some horrific things that our client did. And they didn't make him look like he was a good guy. They said he did some horrific things. And that was important for them to do because that is to take the blunt out of the government's case.
So here's what I see if I'm just the 13th juror out here, okay? Yeah. I see a pattern of behavior that is being repeated over and over and over with every single witness, whereby the guy at the top of the enterprise uses all of his staff to lube up hotel rooms, to hire prostitutes, to buy them tickets, to fly them Mann Act style over state lines. That's sex trafficking. I see bribery. Hey, take this stack of money and make sure nobody sees the video of me beating up my girlfriend. That's bribery. I see extortion. Hey, shut up or your career's over. Hey, shut up or you go, snitches get stitches. Those are all the predicate acts for, say it with me, racketeering. Why are you not seeing that?
They have to prove an enterprise, Ashley. They must prove an enterprise. Those are all bad acts, no question. But they need to prove an enterprise. They're all his staff. And his staff is not an enterprise. Then anyone is a racketeering enterprise. So all my staff, anything, if I did something wrong, I become a racketeering enterprise because I have staff, right? So if someone has their staff aid and abet them doing something, that makes them a racketeering enterprise. Negative does not. That's not the way
I have to. I'm sorry, I'm going to argue with you. I am going to argue with you.
This is the first racketeering case of this kind on the books. Period. End of story.
It doesn't mean that sex isn't as bad, like sex trafficking isn't as bad as what the mob was doing by intimidating people into shutting up so that they could carry on their criminal enterprise.
Sex trafficking, I think, is worse than what the mob's doing. What, get loan sharking or gambling or
killing,
garbage,
killing and chopping people's pieces off. But let me just put it this way.
That's the old mob. But putting it aside,
I feel like
is horrific. I don't see evidence of sex trafficking. Sex trafficking? Trafficking people for sex? What are you talking about?
So Joe, the way it works, you buy a ticket to fly a prostitute into wherever they flew to because they flew all over the world and they flew across the states. That is sex trafficking 100%.
No, it's not sex trafficking, actually. That's the violation of the Mann Act.
It's illegal prostitution across... But the prosecutor said in her opening statement.
That's not sex trafficking. That is not sex trafficking. Sex trafficking has to be without consent.
Okay, but it's using your staff to buy the tickets to arrange it and bring them in. That's Mann Act and using your staff to do it.
That's Mann Act. If it's accepted, that's not sex trafficking. Sex trafficking has to be without consent. I've said to you from the day one we ever talked about this.
Well,
this case will all boil down to the issue of consent.
Cassie has said.
And I'm sorry.
Cassie has said.
When Cassie Ventura testified that the first time she brought this up was to a lawyer to get money, and I'm sorry. You get the question. Women who say, "Oh, I never went to the police. I want to justify. I never went to the police. I asked for $30 million for a book manuscript. When that didn't work out, I said I want $20 million for a lawsuit. I filed the lawsuit, and I have text messages that are completely inconsistent with my on-trial testimony." I'm sorry. It's fair
a good
game.
point, but I do think, Joey Tack, I do think in this day and age, we now understand domestic abuse way more. Why wives have stayed for 30 years with husbands that beat them senseless. We know it. So what I'm saying, hold it, wait, I'm not finished my thought. And that is that it could very well have been that she was taken against her will across state lines to be sex trafficked because she did not want to be in that freak off. She was running from that damn hotel room. So I think there are ways they could easily prove sex trafficking. She was not into it all the time.
Not into it all the time. Sometimes she set up the freak off. Sometimes without even him asking.
Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes, but not always.
How does the jury decide?
Well, when you're bruised and you have a fat lip and you're choking on urine, that's how you decide. You're bruised, you have a fat lip, you're beaten in the hotel hallway.
He's guilty of domestic violence, but that's not a federal crime. That videotape is a horrific, gross tape, and that is why they keep showing it to the jury. But that's not evidence of sex trafficking. It's not evidence of racketeering.
Okay.
It's evidence of nothing but a horrific human being doing something horrible to a woman. Period.
And the bribery to shut everybody up about it. Here, take the money and keep this quiet. I see all sorts of predicate acts. But Joey, you got to come back. I'm beyond my time limit. The producer's mad at me, but you know how much I love you. So come back again.
Okay. Yes. Bye.
Thanks, Joe. Joe Tacopina joining us again tonight.